Coming to the ring, that is Michael Stoute, the undefeated gentleman from Long Island, New York. Getting ready for our first bout in the evening, 2-0. Taking on Sequan Felton, 2-2, but he's better than the record indicates, and we'll get into that once the fight starts. And we're just about ready for the first bout of the evening. Let's throw up the ring announcer, Mark Fretto.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Paramount here in Huntington, Long Island, New York. This is Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing on Facebook, Fight Night Live. Our opening bout this evening is scheduled for 4 rounds in the featherweight division. It's brought to you by Joe DeGuardia's Star Boxing and presented by Model Sporting Goods, the Inn at Fox Hollow, Camelot Limousine, WBAB Radio 102.3, Elite Heat Water, Ball Wash, keep the funk off your junk, and Mr. Custom Made. Score a knockout look at MrCustomMade.com. All of our bouts this evening are sanctioned by the New York State Athletic Commission. Your doctors at ringside this evening are Sethi, Gagliardi, Brown, Pawlowski, and Baccio. The timer this evening is Yvonne Williams. The judges here in the opening contest are Kevin Morgan, James Kinney, and John Basili. And controlling the action at the sound of the bell, the referee in charge is Anthony Charentano. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner. He weighed in at 125.2 pounds. He owns a professional record of 2-2, wearing black and red this evening, coming into this one on a 2-bout win streak. From Rochester, New York, please welcome Sequan Zab Shooter Felton. And his opponent fights out of the red corner. He weighed in at 124.6 pounds. He is undefeated as a professional, 2 victories against 0 defeats. He wears blue, trimmed with gray this evening, representing Coram, Long Island, New York. Please welcome Michael Stoute.
Gentlemen, we went over the rules in the locker room. I want a good, clean fight. Protect yourselves at all times. We've established the belt line right here is good, okay? Touch them up. Good luck to both of you.
4-round featherweight bout to kick us off tonight. Michael Stoute, 2-0 in the blue. Sequan Felton, 2-2. He's in the black with the red waist. Mark Abrams ringside with Kara Castronova. Will be joined shortly by the 2-division world champion, Paulie Malignaggi. Kicking us off already, a packed crowd here at the Paramount. Joe DeGuardia Star Boxing, Rockin Fights 29. See Stoute, the southpaw. Little right hand from Felton. Felton has got a 2-2 record, but he had a distinguished amateur career up in the
2-1-2.
New York, Rochester, New York area.
Yeah, you know what the interesting thing, Mark, is that Michael Stoute, you know, he's 2-0, but one thing I noticed about him is that he doesn't really take easy fights for somebody who is 2-0, and his first fight was actually a very challenging fight. The last time he fought here at the Paramount was back in 2016, April 23rd. He fought someone named Jonelle Lorenzo, and I remember that fight, actually. I was here, and it was a very tactical, strategic fight. That's the way he likes to fight.
That's a slip. Hold a slip.
You know, I was talking to him last night, and he said he doesn't like to overanalyze his opponents. He doesn't really check them out before he fights them. So he didn't really know much about Sequan Felton coming into this fight. You mentioned he had an amateur career, a good amateur record?
Yeah,
Mark?
Felton had 120 amateur fights in the Rochester, New York area. He's trained by T.J. Nolan, a gentleman who I know very well, who's the trainer of the former 2-time middleweight world title challenger Willie Monroe Jr. So, and I know Tim very well. He's a very good young trainer. And I actually saw Felton fight in Philadelphia. He fought a tough fight. He lost the unanimous decision to a good-looking kid named Christian Paguero. That fight took place on June 2nd. And like you said, Stoute, he turned pro. He fought a 23-fight veteran named Antoine Robertson, won a unanimous decision over that. You mentioned
23 fights, it's, you know.
And you mentioned the Lorenzo fight, went to the other end of the spectrum, majority decision over a pro debuter. That fight took place back last April 23rd.
Right. And Michael Stoute, he does have a pretty decent amateur pedigree as well. He won the Golden Gloves twice, 2014 and 2011. He won in 2014, obviously, as an open fighter. And he won the Sugar Ray Robinson Award, which is pretty impressive because that's for the most outstanding boxer of the entire tournament. So that is a very prestigious amateur award to win, besides winning the Golden Glove, to get the Sugar Ray Robinson Outstanding Boxer of the tournament.
You said two-time Golden Glove Award when I thought you were talking about yourself.
I'm talking about Michael Stoute.
And you see Felton trying to push the action here. See a lot of fans are rooting for both guys as we're checking the comments, and we invite all you out there to engage in the conversation tonight during our fights. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can as we come to the end of round one, scheduled for 4 between Michael Stoute and Sequan Felton.
I mean, that was a round where I think they were both really just trying to feel each other out, more or less. Mark, what would you say? Who do you think had that round?
It was a very close round. Could go either way the first round.
I agree.
Not much went on, but you know, Stoute is the hometown fighter, so we have to take that into consideration.
Right. So being the hometown fighter, in order to get the win, I think he's going to really have to, start letting his hands go more, which he does as the fight progresses. From what I remember from seeing his last fight, which was granted almost 2 years ago, but I do remember that as the 3rd and 4th round neared, he started to really throw down a little bit more.
Starting round 2, scheduled for 4. Between Stoute and Felton. You see now Stoute going to the jab, trying to jab the body, trying to land 2 of those. Now nice jab straight to the head, snaps the head back of Felton. See, Felton needs to try to get in more and try to force the issue because, like we mentioned, the close rounds, could go to the hometown fighter, but Stoute is really trying to establish his jab here early in round 2.
Hard punch to land from the southpaw stance is a jab too, so easy for him to throw that right hand down the middle, try to catch him flush with the right hand, like he just did right there.
First of 5 fights here.
Really personable guy, Michael Stoute is. Mark, I was talking to him, and he was telling me how he works for a charity with Parkinson's disease, where I guess boxing is really supposedly a good cure for Parkinson's. Have you ever heard of that? I guess boxing helps your eye and hair coordination.
Yes, one of the I believe it may have been one of those shows, maybe it's like Outside the Lines. I think they did a story on that about how boxing not boxing per se, but boxing classes do help.
Right. So Michael Stoute, that's the charity he works with, which I thought was interesting.
Stoute doing well with the jab here in round 2. You see Felton just lunging in, straight left from Stoute, and a hard right. There's a straight left by Michael Stoute as they tie up. Felton actually has a win here at the Paramount. He scored a 4-round unanimous decision over Harrison Barber back last July 28th. He's come off another win over Carlos Marrero back on November 25th in Connecticut. So he's 2-2, and both his wins are in his last 2 fights, but Michael Stoute is taking it to him here in round 2. Nice left hand to the body from Stoute. End of round 2, halfway home, our first bout of the evening between Stoute and Felton.
So I was talking, Mark. I was talking to Michael Stoute. I mean, I talked to him a little bit more than Felton because he was at the press conference the day before yesterday, and he was telling me a lot of interesting stuff about himself, just to kind of make him, you know, tell you a little bit about his background. Well, number one, he trains with Leon Green, who is from out east, and he's also trains with Mike Murphy. You can see in his corner right there. Both of these guys are like top of the line trainers. I have a lot of respect for Mike Murphy. He's been around for a while. He's trained some really great fighters, and Leon Green was a fighter himself.
Absolutely.
So, right. So he's getting like top of the notch training out there. Leon gets in there and spars with him. So he was telling me a little about his training camp. He was telling me how he, I'll get back to what he was telling me in between the next rounds. Let's go back to this round.
So a lot of great comments here on Fight Night Live. Join in the discussion. Try to get to some of your comments as the night progresses. See our colleague Xavier Porter chiming in. Does a nice job on some of the Fight Night Live broadcast. Jab to the body from Michael Stoute.
This isn't an easy fight for Michael. I mean, he has to fight a very careful fight. This guy Felton, he's very, you know, he's evasive for a 2-2 guy. You know, you think differently, but he's actually a very good boxer. And he moves as he moves back. Mike Stoute is jumping in, trying to reach him, and he's a little bit more successful actually as this round is going on with reaching Felton. But it's hard for him because coming, I guess, from the southpaw position that he's coming from, he's having to reach a little bit with those punches. Sort of having to act more as the aggressor, Michael Stoute, which I know he normally doesn't like to do. I think he likes to be more, you know, the counter puncher and you know, take his time with his shots.
Stoute tried to slam in with a left hand. Good defense, and now they're wrestling on the inside. Stoute misses with an overhand right. See Thomas Cornflake Lamanna watching. We'll be seeing him on Fight Night Live in about a month.
That was a nice right hand. That was a left hand to the body by Felton. I felt it for Stoute.
There's Felton trying to get in with a right hand.
So he's getting those he's slipping those combinations in there. This is an even round. Like we were talking about before, you know, Stoute is the hometown favorite. So
well, he is making the fight. He's being the aggressive guy. He's, you know, coming in with the jabs and the straight lefts behind it. Felton has to be a little bit more aggressive in round 2. I mean, it should be in round 4 to see if he can pull closer on the judges' scorecards. Last 10 seconds of round 3. Felton and Stoute. Little right hook from Stoute out of the corner and lands a good left hand. So like you said, it was a close round. Those two little shots may have you know, been able for Stoute to pull it out.
Yeah, I think all 3 rounds, Mark, were pretty close. I just feel like you know, Stoute, he's edging him out just a little bit, especially towards the end of the round. He's pulling it off in the end of the rounds, like, you know, stealing rounds, throwing a little bit more punches than Stoute. He's acting as the aggressor. He's the hometown favorite. So I think I would, so far I have him all 3 rounds, but I could see the judges going either way on all the rounds. The last round was the best I think that Stoute had so far.
Well, I think Stoute clearly won round 2. He was very aggressive, started working behind the jab. He may have pulled 1 and 3 out as well, but you never know. Here comes the 4th and final round.
Number 4, the 4th and final round.
Fourth and final round.
You know, if I'm Stoute in there, I'm thinking I got to come out with a strong round. You know, you don't want to leave it to the judges. Oh, that was a bad slip.
Yes.
always awkward fighting a southpaw. Stuff like that happens. Feet get tangled up. You know, things look worse than they are.
All the time. Step over to your left. Stoute placing a jab to the body.
Stoute, he's a talented boxer. Both of these guys are talented. Stoute, I think he's developing. You know, this is his third bout. I think he's learning with each bout. Coming into this, I know that, you know, like I had mentioned earlier, he said he doesn't really like to study his opponents, but in this case, it might have, you know, I think that if he took a little bit more of a look at Felton, like it would have maybe been a good idea to take a look at his style, because it's not an easy style.
No, he's not, and he has a long amateur pedigree.
Right. And that's like deceiving. You see a 2-2 record, you know, it's deceiving. A guy has 100 amateur fights. So not that I'm saying Felton does, but what my point is, he has way more experience than his professional record might show, which is 2-2. Yeah,
when I talked to, and Felton knew what he was getting into. Felton, I asked him what he knew about Stoute. He said he's a counterpuncher. So
right.
he knew he was a boxer counterpuncher. So maybe he was being a little timid, not trying to force the issue as much. Stoute lands a 1-2 there.
And as you're saying that he's getting more aggressive, I think he's realizing that this round is an important round for him.
Little right hook from Stoute. A solid performance as we head in towards the last minute of this fight from Mike Stoute. He's taking what the defense is giving him. I mean, it's an old football term, but that's what he's doing, and he's chalking up these rounds.
Right. And it's, you know, jumping in there against a counterpuncher like Felton, you know, you want to be a little careful. You don't want to see, as he was just walking in, as I said that, he just got hit with a couple pretty hard shots. But it's not that easy to be aggressive with somebody like Felton who's constantly counterpunching. You got to be careful in there. And it takes a lot of mental fortitude, I think, sometimes to actually not get too excited. You hear the crowd, you hear all your hometown fans, and you want to really put on a show, and you just got to kind of maintain your calm, maintain your cool, you know, so you don't get on hit with unnecessary shots and just win the fight.
Straight left from Stoute again.
Yeah, I would love to see Mark. I would love to see him throw more of those because they land, and he's the southpaw. He has the experience from this unorthodox position to be landing really those straight left hands at will if he wanted to. You know, if I could say anything that I would like him to see him do more of in the next fight is to throw more straight right hands as a lead punch because they land and they look good.
So first fight of the night.
Best round for Stoute was that fourth round. Like I said earlier, he comes out and he always he puts the pressure on more as the rounds progress. So he definitely that was a definite Stoute round. I have him winning all 4 rounds. Mark, what do you have?
I can very easily agree with you there, Kara.
Yeah. But like I said earlier, you know, the judges, I could see them giving rounds here and there to Felton. So we'll have to see what the judges say.
It's a good outing for Michael Stoute. I believe we'll hear his name called for win number 3.
He has a lot of room to grow as well. Yeah, you know, I've seen him getting better with each fight. He's only fought the top guys, so you got to give it to him there. You know, most guys come in, especially the hometown guys, they're coming into their first 10 pro fights. You know, they're fighting guys who are like with a big losing record. So this is actually, I think this is probably the guy with the least impressive record that Michael Stoute has fought so far.
Well, he fought a 23-fight veteran, then he fought a tough pro debuter.
Right.
And like we said, Mr. Felton had 120 amateur fights. He told me he only lost a handful of them. So, you know, there's a little bit of a pedigree there. So Michael Stoute may go to 3-0 against 3 quality opponents. Got some great people from around the world watching Fight Night Live tonight. We encourage everyone to continue the great conversation.
Yes, definitely let us know what you think. If you have any specific questions for me and Mark, or, you know, anything that you want to talk about, just write it on Fight Night Live right now, because we are actually looking at the feed as we're speaking right now and seeing what you guys have to say. Who do you guys think won that fight? Put it up on Fight Night Live.
Well, I think we're going to find out momentarily. Let's throw it up to ring announcer Mark Frado.
Ladies and gentlemen, here on Long Island, let's get a big Paramount round of applause for these two warriors. Having gone the 4-round distance, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judge at ringside, Kevin Morgan, saw this one by a score of 39-37. Judges James Kinney and John Basili scored it 40-36. All three judges in favor of your winner by unanimous decision. From Coram, Long Island, New York, Michael Stoute.
There you have it, Michael Stoute.
Good win for Michael. Like we said, I thought he had pulled off all 4 rounds. I would like to see him throw more of that, that lead left hand. I think it lands for him. Get a little bit more aggressive. Next fight around, throw a little bit more punches, put the punches together a little bit more. But I think he's growing with every fight, and I think he has a bright future.
Absolutely. He's 3-0, 3 solid wins. Showed some good boxing skills, and as they say, off to the next one he goes. Felton, a tough love fighter there. He's now 2-3. He's been in every one of his fights that he's been with us. We see some of the action that we saw in our first bout of the evening. Kara, what do you see here?
I just see Michael Felton. He was actually throwing the lead shots there, and Stoute was, moving back, picking his shots. But none of them, they didn't really it wasn't an inside fight. On the inside, they were both holding, I noticed. So both guys really not keen on fighting each other on the inside. But Michael Stoute definitely pulled the win off in the end. And, I was impressed by the way he came out in the 4th round. It showed a lot of heart. It shows heart when it was a close fight. He could have came out, thinking maybe he won the first 3 rounds. The judges are probably going to give it to him because he's a hometown guy, but not really certain. So he could have came out in the 4th round and taken it a little easier, knowing that he probably had the win under his belt, but he didn't. He came out and he fought a harder 4th round than he did the first 3. So to me, that shows a lot of heart. That shows a lot of character.
That's our first